Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM20 story, A Wandering Dork with me, Daniel. Season 6, Episode 1 today. We're back for the start of our first season in League One, and today we've got a massive transfer special on our hands as we go through all of the ins and outs over the summer. It's been a busy window as you would expect after promotion as we try and adapt to a new higher level, and we'll go through all of the new signings we've got to help us today, as well as some of the ones that may be joining later on. But firstly, a massive thank you to everyone who continues to follow the series. I really do appreciate it greatly. If you missed any of the series so far, you can catch up in the eye above. There's a link to all of our FM20 playlists so you can catch up from the very beginning. If you're looking forward to another transfer special and a new season of signings coming into the club, please do put a thumbs up on the video. And if you're new to the channel, then subscribe for daily FM20 content from both of my long-term stories. It's been a massive moment in both series. We had a club change in our other series yesterday as well, so make sure you go back and check that one out, as well as tomorrow's episode, which will be our first game for them. And then on Tuesday in this one we'll have our first game of the League One season. Just so much going on in both, and it's really given me the motivation for both series again, as they both come to life at the same sort of time. But we're going to have a look through the transfers today and talk about a couple of logistical problems this season. You'll probably notice the first weird one already. It's the first day of the season and everyone's already played. We're the only club not to have played our home game, and that's because we're sharing the People's Pension Stadium again. Crawley, the owners in League 2, they're going to have priority on fixtures as a result, so we're going to be playing a lot of our weekend games on Sunday instead of Saturday, and that's going to cause some chaos for midweek fixtures. If we go and have a look at the schedule, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. We've got a couple of instances further down the line. I'll just try and find one of them now for you, where we've got games on the Sunday and then again on the Tuesday night, because the ground changes have worked in terms of moving us to Sunday, but then they haven't moved the subsequent midweek fixture to Wednesday, and that's caused absolute chaos for us. I guess when we're away to another club, we probably shouldn't be able to change. It should be up to the home side there, but only 48 hours for some of the fixtures is really going to make things a bit trickier for us. So we'll go and have a look at the problems that'll cause. They'll probably become apparent as the season moves on, but for today we're just going to worry about the players coming into the club and putting faces to some of the names that you can see on the screen. So let's go and have a look at that transfer screen. We'll go through all the ones that are potentially coming in later, but we start with the released players and say goodbye to a few old friends, a few that have done a decent job for us over the years. William Hondemart, the first of them, a central midfielder who's left the club, 57 league appearances with 6 goals, went on loan to Kettering last season, you may remember. He's gone off and yet to find another club, but he was a decent servant for us for some time. Matt Dolan was just here last season for us, 23 appearances and 3 goals. He's not got a new club yet, but he is wanted by a few, so I'm sure he'll get a move before too long. And then next along the line is Ethan Vaughan, a favourite of mine because of his personality. Over 100 league appearances for the club, really was a solid player in both the National League and National League South. He was crucial to both of our promotions in those 2 years and was also a key figure in our League 2 survival first time. So really good player. We're so sad to see him go, but he just wasn't good enough for League 1 level. Peter Goodwin, the only other recognisable name, he was the young right back we bought in a year earlier. Now AFC Wimbledon have taken a chance on him. They want to give him the chance to try and develop, but for us unfortunately it's the end of the road, so we say goodbye to him as well. The rest are all pretty useless. Tim Baxter was the only one that I thought about mentioning. He was probably the best ever youth intake player we had, and he had 1.5 star potential, so it doesn't say a great deal, but he has become a half decent player I guess. He's moved on now and he's not able to get a new club, but at least he's got the attributes to potentially make it in non-league, whereas most of the others will probably end up retiring. But let's go and have a look at the players coming in and out, and again we've made a transfer profit this summer. We're yet to spend any money, although that may change soon as we come towards the last 2 or 3 weeks of the window. And one of the real frustrating things for me this year, but to be expected as we move up another level, we've probably got 2 or 3 positions where we're not actually fully covered yet, and we're going to have to worry about that over the next week. You can see 2 of them we'd put in a lot of bids for players, and they'll be talked about and hopefully in for the next week. So firstly, going out of the club, there's some real surprises money-wise. First of them was Rory Feely, no surprise in that one at all. He was a player who wanted to leave the club actually. He was unhappy at not playing football. He was struggling after injury to get back to full fitness. Physically not quite the same player he once was, though a good versatile option for a club. So he's gone off to Walsall, just under 20,000. Still made 20 league appearances for us over 2 seasons. A really decent pro, and he did a decent job for us, so no complaints about him moving on. And then Ryan Huddart, the keeper, we signed him on a free last year, it just didn't work out. He's gone to Cheltenham for 13,000. He'll be their first choice goalkeeper in League Two. A really decent player, though we let him free on his first day there, and mentally he's got a few attribute deficits. But moving on to the big money sale, Callum Harriott remarkably came in at 30, really struggled last year on the left. Dundalk have signed him in the Irish League, a really good player in terms of experience, but wasn't quite doing it for us. £160,000, that absolutely amazed me, and he's going to be plying his trade over in Ireland, so we wish him the best of luck with that one. He did score 1 or 2 crucial goals in our run-in, so we have got to be thankful for that, and he did provide a decent service for us. It just didn't quite work out for him on the pitch. But on to the loan players, plenty of them going out, most of them the same that were out on loan last year, but a couple of other ones who we've not been able to sell on, who we're just trying to get out to improve with first team football. So Craig McGinty's first, he came in January, off on loan to Yeovil for this season. I think they're playing in the National League if I'm not wrong. Let me just double check. They're a National League side, their campaign starts today, so I hope he'll get a lot of good football there. He's a decent player, made 9 appearances for us last season, but most of those were off the bench and he had very little impact. Kane Williams was next. We flirted with keeping him. He's got a really good mentality for a youngster though, so I feel like playing football's going to benefit him more, and again he's going to be playing in the National League this year. He's off to Fylde where he can do a good job after 4 appearances for us last season, so fingers crossed he'll get a lot of first team football there and come back ready to be our first choice centre half. Paul McGowan's third, he's gone to Dover, on loan again in non-league football for a year. His personality's improved, it's up to balance now. He is starting to gradually get better. To be honest, I don't think he's ever going to make it. We did try and transfer list him briefly, but he's going to go out on loan and hopefully improve, and maybe we can sell him on afterwards. Next is another one we planned on keeping. It was Manny Cook, the young striker. He signed a new deal, but he's gone off to Boston now, playing in non-league football yet again. A really good improving striker, but his personality's not great, so I'm hoping he'll be able to get football this year. So fingers crossed he improves with that action, and he'll come back ready to play in a football league. Max Dodd is fifth. He's gone to Scunthorpe, a club that's obviously featured in yesterday's head coach episode a lot. If you're not sure why, then go back and check it out. Really is quite an interesting one, that. But low determination again haunts him, although he has gone on loan to Scunthorpe, who are in the National League. They got relegated last season with York City, and they'll be plying a trade in the 5th tier this year. He's a good central midfielder though. I fancy him to get some games there. Maybe he'll improve and sort out his personality. If he does, he's the type of player who's got all of the attributes, so maybe he'll become a first teamer at our level. 3 more to go. Aaron Presley the first. He rejected a few permanent deals away this summer actually. Had 3 or 4 different offers all around the 50,000 mark, but unfortunately turned them all down. So we'll be playing at Fylde alongside Kane Williams. Both of them at National League level should be absolute superstars, but he probably won't feature for us anymore. 145 appearances and 49 goals to go with it. A really good player for us, plenty of assists as well. Always been the backup man to Terrell Whittaker, and when he's playing alongside him as a target man, he set up a fair few of his goals. But a good player, we wish him the best there. Courtney Johnson's next to Braintree. He joined us on a free in the summer, so we'll talk about him in a bit more detail later. I signed him really because of his personality. Only 2-star ability at present, not ready for first team football, but a professional personality should help him elsewhere, and we wish him the best at Braintree and hopefully he'll succeed. And then finally it's Kevin Kavanagh. Again we thought about keeping him briefly, but 1 more year of football I think he's going to need. 2.5-star ability, much more potential. Off to Swindon for this season. Really good physically on the wing, and he's a decent pro now as well. A fairly professional personality, wants to get first team football under his belt, and let's hope he gets the chance and takes it at Swindon. I'm sure he'll do a really good job for them. So that's all the outs. We've got 10 ins to talk about as well. 9 of them you can see on the screen there, and then Matthew Smith, who signed on for another season, and he's going to get very confusing this year. You can see we've loaned a Matt Smith from Leeds. We've also got Matthew Smith, the central midfielder from last year, and we've still got Grant Smith, the goalkeeper too. So there's going to be so much confusion across that. We're going to have to find a code system for them. Any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. I could do with the help on that one. But for now, we'll look at the 9 that are coming in and go and see where that leaves us at the moment. We'll look at the tactic we've gone for this year too. Also try and talk about the gaps we've got in the squad, and maybe show you the potential coming ins after that that'll hopefully be joining us in 2 or 3 days time. So the first 3 are all free agents, those that are getting released from Premier League clubs. A few of them popped up in scout reports. We bring them in on trial just as we do every May. We've talked about it in some of our previous end of year reviews, and it continues to work really well for us at this level. The first one's probably the best, to be honest. Kenny Humphreys-Durnley from Manchester United, a central midfielder at 18 years of age, 3-star ability, 5-star potential. His determination's improved already since he's joined the club. You can see at 18 he looks a pretty good player. Brilliant passing range, a really good player physically, and he doesn't work too badly either, so I'm hoping his hard work will pay off for him. He can play as a deep line and advanced playmaker, also as a box-to-box player as well, so we can use him off the bench in any of our midfield roles and hopefully use him to deputise and get games. So I'm really excited about him, and the same probably goes for Jeremiah Watson. This guy's coming from Arsenal as an 18-year-old, 2.5-star ability, 4-star potential. We're looking at trying to loan him out for some football. A resolute personality, really good mentally at his age, maybe not quite the same physically, though he has got the natural playmaker stats. So the plan is to loan him out this year, get him some football, hopefully improve to 3-star, and then maybe replace Matthew Smith next season, who we keep loaning every year from Derby. It also gives us the option later on to go to a system with a number 10 in. He's got so much flexibility at his age. I'm so excited about both of those signings. I really think they could both become key players in the future, and particularly in the case of Humphreys Durnley, he might even have Premier League potential. We've got Courtney Johnson third, who we talked about on the outs already. A good youngster with a good personality. He's not quite there in terms of attributes at the moment, but I felt he was worth a gamble for £275 a week, and now he's gone on loan to Braintree as well. He'll be there for the entire season, and we're not going to have to pay any of his bills either. On to the usual transfer window signings though. We've got 3 loan players coming in to join Matthew Smith so far, and then we've got 3 more free agents, a little bit more experience there, but hopefully helping us to fill out the squad nicely. So we've got Joe Thompson on loan from Norwich first, another one I'm supremely excited about. 3.5-star ability, 5-star potential, 5 appearances for Norwich in the past, played 15 for Salford in the Football League as well, a really good player across the board. Technique's exceptional, he's got all the right attributes for a winger, natural in that more deeper wide midfield role. We talked about going to a flat 4-4-2 this year, something we've decided to do in the end, and this guy's going to suit that down to a T, but it can also go further forward if it doesn't work. Physically he's really strong, so he should be able to handle 2 games a week, and he likes to run with the ball out wide, get early crosses into the box. Everything else seems to be pretty perfect for us, and I'm really hoping he can perform really well this year. He's really tall too, great jumping reach, a useful threat from set pieces to have, so I'm hoping he'll be able to give us a bit of physicality in the box, maybe nick 2 or 3 goals in that regard, but a wonderful signing nonetheless, and a fantastic start to the transfer window for us. Second was our first permanent signing of the window, Connor Simpson, who joined on a free after leaving Preston. His contract ended, we're paying him £1.8 grand a week, unfortunately just picked up a knock before the season. He's got 2.5-star ability, 3.5 potential, very close to 3-star ability too. He's an upgrade on Parkhouse and good competition as a target man, can also play in that advanced forward role if desperately needed, but he just looks like a really decent player for us, and at 24 he scored goals for Accrington and Preston and looks like he's ready to be a Football League player. So I'm quite excited about having him here, not a huge financial outlay as well. I basically disregarded anyone who wanted more than 2 grand a week, just trying to keep the wage bill managed, so all of these players, if we do get relegated, will happen to be good enough to stay at the club. They'll also be on affordable wages, we won't be paying out too much to put us in jeopardy, and I'm hoping they'll be able to fire us back to promotion, but of course we'd like to avoid relegation in the first place. The loanees will help that, and we've got another great one coming up. Jack Walker, a centre-half from Derby. He's essentially my Ashley Morsley replacement. 4-star ability, 5-star potential, a left-footed centre-half, iron-willed personality. You don't get to see that one too often. He's got 10 under-21 caps for Ireland at just 18 years of age. He's a fantastic young player with terms of attributes. He's a no-nonsense centre-half, really good in the tackle, very solid physically, and mentally he's incredibly brave as well, and I think he's going to be a super signing for us. I'm so excited about the loan players. Those 2 in particular are sensational. They've really given us a lease of life for this year, and in addition to Matthew Smith, they're 3 top quality players, all of whom will comfortably play at League One level. I know I'm probably talking quite a lot about these signings, but I hope it just shows you how excited I am by them. Next is Harry Campbell, a goalkeeper, a like-for-like replacement for Hoodart. He's a slight upgrade on Grant Smith in terms of attributes, but we're not quite sure if it's going to work out that way, and kindly he'd agreed to a backup contract too, so if it doesn't work out, he can be our number 2. Played nearly 200 league games for Orient after making his debut for Burton many years back, so plenty of experience at this sort of level. Played in League 2 for quite some time, solid attributes as a goalkeeper and mentally across the board. Maybe just physically he's a little bit knacking, not the biggest for a goalkeeper, not the most agile either, but I think he's a really good goalkeeper overall, and he can also play as that crucial sweeper keeper. Let's just bring our defensive line up, because he can start a little bit higher up the pitch, so I'm quite excited about the prospect prospect of him, and I think he's going to start the season as number 1. Next is the most confusing one. We've got Matt Smith joining from Leeds on loan, not to be confused with Matthew Smith, our central midfielder. So he's come from Leeds as the left back, 3.5 star ability, 5 star potential, capped at under 19 level for England no less, only paying £700 a week. It's an absolute steal for us. He's played for Wrexham 16 times, they're in League 2, they're a really decent team, so I think he's going to be a good signing for us. We did have a couple of permanents we wanted to bring in at left back, but they all wanted 3 or 3.5 grand a week, and as a result we had to take the cheaper option. So physically Matt Smith is unbelievable, mentally he's very good for a young player actually. Technically going forward he maybe lacks a little bit, dwells on the ball, not the best crosser, but he's decent in the tackle as a left back, and that's pretty much all we can ask at 18. I hope he's going to develop into a superstar. He's training quite well for his first week at the club, so fingers crossed he'll become a super player and be able to be a key one for us in survival. And then last but not least is Miles Judd, just to give us a bit of security at right back, essentially a replacement for Rory Feely, saving us the 16 grand, 2.5 star ability, 3 star potential, 25 years of age now, played 150 times for Orient, 30 for AFC Wimbledon. Mentally he's really strong as a fullback, he's also very good physically actually, and again it's just technically he's not quite the best, but he's good enough to be a solid backup at this level. And with young James Simpson playing at right back most weeks, he's a really good understudy who can teach him some stuff off the pitch. So they're all the signings so far. We have actually plugged most of the gaps in the squad. If I take you to the tactic, we're not going to talk about it in detail, we'll do that ahead of our first game in the next episode, but the headline of course is that we've moved to a flat 4-4-2. We're going to have to drop the wingers back at this level, we're just not quite the same standard as we were last year, and we're going to have to be a little more cautious as a result. You can see we've still got quite a few players on trial, a few recognisable names probably in there as well, and there's a number of players we're trying to sign at the club at the moment to fill the last few gaps we've got in the team. So at the moment I'm a little bit worried about 2 positions, the first one being central defence. We've got 3 good defenders, Jack Walker obviously a definite starter, Sheringham and Jones pretty similar, probably League 2 defenders, so if I can get one more first teamer in I'd be delighted, and we're trying to work towards that at the moment. The same probably works up front as well. We bought in Simpson, who I'm really pleased about. Parkhouse and Whittaker stars for us last year, maybe not quite good enough for League 1 level, but the other players we've had in on trial so far have all again wanted 3 or 4 grand a week. So let's take a look at the active transfer deals just before we finish off this episode, see the players that might be joining in those 2 positions. You can see we've bid for 4 strikers and 2 centre-halves, so there's some interesting names amongst there as well, and it looks like at centre-half we've got to invest some money, and either way it's going to be either big on the wage bill or a little bit of a transfer spend for the first time. So we've got Sam Stubbs from Mansfield at 25 years of age. We're just scouting him at the moment actually. He's been a really good player, he popped up as someone we should look at, available for not much money either. He came off the bench for Mansfield in their weekend's game, got an assist off the bench as a centre-half ironically, but he looks a decent player at his age, and I'm hoping he might be able to fit into our team. The other one's a bit of a left field one in truth. Daniel Obi from Farnborough in the National League South. 400 grand a week, a little bit of compensation. He popped up with from our director of football. He said, why don't you make a bid for this guy? He's got a lot of potential, and I don't really see that it's a high risk move. An under 20 international for Nigeria, played for Farnborough at the lower levels for a couple of years, and he did come through at Watford and Leicester as well, so I feel like he could be worth a punt. So we might bring him in, we'll try and scout him as well, just to see if it's going to be worthwhile. In fact, I only put most of these bids in this morning, which is why we're not that far down the line with them. Then 4 strikers we're looking at, one you're probably already aware of, Sean Adakwa, who was at Cheltenham last season. He was the man who pipped Whittaker to the League 2 Golden Boot, really good across the board here. It's just that they want quite a bit of money, and we've got to decide whether we're willing to invest it. He scored in his first game of the League 2 season, he looks an absolute superstar at this level. I'm just really frustrated we didn't find him when West Ham released him, because he would have been a perfect addition at that point. But in my eyes, I'm not too worried about spending a bit of money. You can see we're at 350 grand at the moment. It's just about beyond our transfer budget, but we can move over some of the wage bill. I can guarantee we'll sell him on for more than that, so I'm not worried about paying big bucks for him. But we've got 3 loan strikers which could be better options for now. Pat Murphy, who's at Wolves at the moment, looks a good finisher again, just popped up this morning as a recommendation, so we've put in a bid for him and now we'll scout him and see what he looks like in a week or so. David Hill's a bit further down the line. Our director of football actually made the bid for him, but he isn't the best type of striker for us, more of a target man, doesn't run in behind, and I can't play him alongside the likes of Parkhouse or the new signing Simpson actually, so it would have to be him alongside Whittaker, and Whittaker's probably our weakest striker now. And then finally John King, someone we flirted with all summer. 92 is his scout summary, he looks a really good player, and he suits the advanced forward role. He's the sort of one we should probably go for, and I think he is almost certainly going to be first choice. Probably a better upgrade on a Darkwa for now. It's just that composure rating that worries me, particularly with the one-on-one chances. But there is a new public beta out from FM20, and that is hopefully going to address that. And after this episode and our first game of the season, we will be changing over to that one then. So hopefully we'll be able to see an improvement after that, and these guys will be able to bang in goals for fun. So I'm not too worried about which ones they are, because they all look really decent signings, but I am a little bit concerned about the centre-half position. I'm not quite sure Sherrin or Jones are strong enough. But let's have a look at the schedule for the first game of the season. It's Lincoln City at home, sort of at home anyway. We're going over to Crawley to play our home games this year. We've got a few players out injured, Simpson being one of them, a couple on trial that can't play yet of course, and then a few more that are still in negotiations at present, so we haven't quite got the full squad we wanted. So maybe a slightly slower start to the season, then hopefully we'll come on strong a little bit later on. But there's some massive games in this league. My beloved Luton Town are there, the likes of Wigan, Bolton, Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich and Sunderland still down in League One. So many big names. It's a massive step up this year, and I'm interested to see how these lads get on with it. But you can find out how they do in the next episode. That'll be on Tuesday at the same time, 4:30. We'll be back to face Lincoln in our first game of the season, and hopefully a lot of those new signings will impress. But if you did enjoy this episode and meeting some of the new faces, please do put a big thumbs up on the video. It really does make such a difference to how the video performs, and I can't thank you enough for your continued support. Let me know in the comments who you think the best signings are, where you think we're going to need to improve further. Am I right? Is it centre half and centre forward we need to worry about, or are there other positions you don't think are quite as strong? Subscribe to the channel for daily FM20 content from my 2 long-term stories, and tomorrow's a big moment in our other series as well. We'll have our first game at our 3rd club of our career in that one, and we'll be showing a double header too as we start our reign at that club, so make sure you go and check out who we've joined. Yesterday was the episode we had the job offer, so I'll put a link to that one in the eye above. But a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support of the series as always. I really do greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for a massive episode as we play our first game as a League One club.